Hey guys, so welcome back. So let's talk about Arsenal, the biggest club in the world. So the biggest news as from yesterday is Mikel Arteta signing a contract extension. The board, Junkers have decided to give him a 3-year extension. So Mikel is staying with the Arsenal has extended his contract up to 2027. And good or bad news depending on where you stand from, depending on where you're standing at, depending on how you see Mikel's time at Arsenal and what you make of it. Yeah, Mikel, when he came to Arsenal in 2019, there were those who never believed in him, and then finished eighth during his first season with, I think they had 56 points, which was one of the worst finished Arsenal was having after quite the first season. He came and won the FA Cup in his first season, but this was followed by bad league performance, 56 points, finishing eighth, and this. For many, they used this performance to say that the Arsenal deserved a better coach. Remember, Mikel was replacing Freddie Lumberg, who was on interim basis. Lumberg replaced Unai Emery, who had also not performed well at the Arsenal. So Arsenal was in a crisis when Mikel Arteta came in, and uh, this part of what Arsene Wenger was giving, uh, handing over to the next his successor. So the last years of Arsene Wenger were terrible, really terrible. The football declined, the quality of players declined, the club lost its character and spine, and so Unai Emery, when he came, tried to establish his 17 games without losing, and then things just collapsed, and this was followed by very poor display the Europa League finals against Chelsea, where he lost. This is despite having played the first half. Mikel Arteta comes and inherits all this, and then his first season with the players who, respectfully, I respect them, but most of them were below the standard. So he finished eighth during this time. The basis for most fans to say Mikel Arteta has to go, and most fans never believed in him. So Mikel Arteta goes into the next season again. He starts the project and he's trying to rally fans to say that, okay, guys, you need to trust the process. So he's starting a process and a project, starting to bring in some signings that he thinks can take him to where he wants to be. So in 2020 and 2021 season, the Arsenal finished again eighth. So eighth, finishing eighth in a row. I mean, for the second season, and this time there was at least some progression. The Arsenal had 61 points, so at least that was something to take away 5 more points than they had in the previous season. So in 2021-2022 season, Mikel Arteta now finishes fifth. So there is progress. People can see that, and I think Arsenal missed the Champions League on the last day, which was heartbreaking because they had it. Had they won the North London Derby, they would have qualified for the Champions League. And remember also Brighton kind of complicating the Arsenal's Champions League. So they lost the Champions League spot on the last day, but they finished 69th point again, progression. So this is now 7 points more than they finished in the previous season. So look at all this progression. You start at 56 points, then you go at 61 points, and then from 61 points you go to 69 points. And this is now progressing from 8th to 5th position, missing the Champions League by a whisker, if I would use that word. So in 2022-2023 season, this is now the season where now Mikel gets people behind his banner. The fans now see, okay, so this guy was cooking. There is something happening at the Arsenal. So this is the season that changes the fans. I mean, everyone now starts rallying behind Mikel because now they can see the processes taking shape, and they are now trusting this process, and because they are seeing the evidence, the Arsenal are playing good football and how leading the league from the start to almost the end in the finishing lines, because it is in this season 2022-2023 that the Arsenal finishes second in the league, losing with a few games left. They just lost it, and Manchester City comes and takes it away. And Arsenal finished the league on 84 points, and this marked the process had arrived. And this is the season now when now even fans start saying we've got Super Mikel Arteta. So fans are believing, and they're saying, and in the stadium, you can see they have banners of Mikel Arteta. So Mikel has finally won on so many squares or frontiers. One, he has won over the board. The KSL, the Kronkes believe in him. The fans now believe in it. The players trust him, and evidence of all this success, there is the points are coming. They are now back to Champions League football. Mikel has built an Arsenal side, a very young side. I think the average age of Arsenal for that season, Arsenal had an average age, the youngest in the league, and one of the youngest in Europe. They had an average age of almost 23 years old. So these were young players who were playing so brilliant football, and they they managed to finish league second, almost winning it, and they garnered a lot of points, winning very critical games and playing nice football. So this was wins on Mikel Arteta. And then you got also to see other wins that Mikel Arteta also made. For instance, Mikel Arteta was able to convince key players to come to the Arsenal. He convinced Gabriel Jesus or Ole Zinchenko. He convinced Declan Rice. He convinced Leandro Trossard to come to Arsenal. He also convinced William Saliba to commit to Arsenal. Remember Saliba, when he was taken to loan to Marseille, he wanted to stay in Marseille because he thought Arsenal wouldn't give him a game. And the media also helped in brewing conflict between Mikel and Saliba. But when Saliba comes back from loan, Mikel puts him and shows him that here is my project, here is my blueprint, and this is you. You are central to my project. And he convinces Saliba, and Saliba today is one of the best, if not the best, central defenders that we have. Mikel Arteta's success also was improving the confidence of Gabriel Magalhaes. You remember when Magalhaes came, he was a shaky defender, not so confident, but then he was able to form a formidable partnership with Saliba, and the two have really become central to Arsenal's performance. Benny White also is a success of Mikel Arteta. Remember, Benny White came as a central defender who was supposed to play. He was admired for his ball progression. Like, this is a central defender that can take the ball, move with it to the midfield, and advance even up to the last third. So he was critical in dictating games, creating chances also, and also progressing with the ball when needed. And so it was always thought that Benny White would come and play in the central defense role, or perhaps even invert sometimes as a midfielder. But Mikel Arteta puts him wide on the defense, and he's become unchallenged in his position. Benny White has become one of the best in his positions in the league. So Mikel Arteta has got a lot of wins. The club culture has changed. Arsenal now breeds positive vibes. You see the players, you see the way they connect to each other. So when Mikel was given a new contract, I thought that Mikel really deserves this. I don't know what you think, but for me, Mikel really deserves a new contract. 2023-2024, again, Arsenal now finishes second. They lose the league on the last day. Remember, it's not so easy to challenge Manchester City. So Mikel has now raised an Arsenal that can really take on Manchester City. And this is the season that Mikel Arteta beat Manchester City. and drew away to Manchester City. So they collected 4 out of possible 6 points from Manchester City. The first time it's happening in so many years, never happened in Wenger's years, never happened in Unai Emery's time, and even for Mikel, it took some time to really play that level to challenge Manchester City. This is also the season that the Arsenal never lost any London derby. They beat almost all London teams. So this was really interesting time for the Arsenal, and this is also the time that the Arsenal collects the most points that they have ever collected in the history of the Premier League and in the history of the league championship. 89 points, all under Mikel Arteta. So Mikel Arteta for me has really achieved, and he deserves this 3-year extension. So this season, as he gets a new contract, we are looking at what he will be doing, what is coming on for Mikel Arteta. Unfortunately, starting the season with a lot of injuries, but now the players trust him. Some were disappointed. I mean, of not winning the league. The fans also were disappointed, and some even thought that perhaps maybe now there are some who were saying that perhaps maybe there is a coach then who can take Arsenal now to the next level. But I don't think that there is any other coach that can do that. It is Mikel. This is Mikel Arteta's project. He deserves it. He lost the league on the last day. He brought Arsenal to the Champions League, and for the first time in so many years, since 2012, I think so, the Arsenal advanced to the quarters, past the knockout stages of the Champions League. Remember, he's bringing Arsenal back to the Champions League after so many years, after an hit years of so many years, and then he breaks a record with it, get over to the next knockout stage, something they hadn't done since 2012, and then he takes them to the quarterfinals. So really, Mikel has got something cooking, and I think that is why the board, Josh and Stan Kroenke trust him. That's why Edu and Edu, they're so passionate about this project. So when he signed this contract, there was something that he said, which I think I will read. I am extremely proud, very excited, and I'm looking forward to what is coming next. I am proud to be where I am, and I have a relationship that I have with everyone at the club. I feel extremely lucky to work every single day with good people and the ambition we have here. I feel very inspired. I feel challenged. I feel supported, and I want to do much more than already done together. Together with the players and everyone at the club, we are looking forward to the coming years with our supporters who have emotionally transformed the club and the team. Our supporters have transformed individuals, and they are different now. You can tell me, you can tell that we are different, and for me, that is down to them. We look forward to continuing the journey together. Very optimistic message from Mikel Arteta that promises good things to come. So Mikel Arteta for me is a game at the Arsenal. The Arsenal cannot afford to lose such a coach. He is one of the youngest coaches, among the youngest coaches in the top teams in Europe. When he came, he was only 39, I think. So when he came, so he came in as a very young coach. So many people will believe in. But remember, for me, when Arsene Wenger vacated his role or resigned, I backed for Mikel Arteta to come to the Arsenal. He was my first choice. And so when I think it was also the board's first choice, but Unai Emery somehow convinced the board. And so for me, when Unai left and Mikel Arteta deserved to be the next Arsenal manager. So Barcelona wanted him to replace Xavi, and somehow Manchester City are looking, when Guardiola leaves, they're looking for a winning coach. They're looking for someone who can a protege of Josep Guardiola. Mikel Arteta is the guy, so the Arsenal has got the best coach. They just have to stick by him. And the good thing is that Mikel Arteta loves the Arsenal, and so congratulations, Mikel, for your contract extension. I'm just wishing you the best, and thanks for making the Arsenal fans happy, for bringing so much hope and joy back to the carpet. The fans sing your name, they love you, they give you the support that you gave the Arsenal hope. Today, the Arsenal fans believe again, thanks to the process, thanks to the project, and thanks to your work and the team that you work with. So all the best, Mikel.